Hey everybody. I know it's been a while. I got a beard now. Um, I would like to share a dream that my girlfriend had before she had the baby, while she was still pregnant. She had this dream, and I've been wanting to share it. I just had a. I was like, what benefit really would this dream be to anybody? And because most of the dreams or testimonies that I do give, I try to just use the ones that I feel that people might be able to use them. uh, Either maybe they've had a dream similar, so that they can kind of see what maybe what I got from it, so maybe they could kind of figure out what theirs means. And this one really doesn't really, in my opinion, I don't think it's really going to have too much of a use to to anybody. But I just I well, I like the dream a little bit for just one reason, and I always thought it was pretty cool. But to give you just a little bit of background, uh, I have a lot of dreams myself. Um, I've had premonitions. Uh, I could say, I've had dreams to where I'm seeing through somebody else's eyes, so to speak, seeing through their spirit, maybe. And it's like I've even had people to where I've prayed over them and asked God to use me in a way to where I can give them a message. And like the dream that I had, pretty much, I was seeing through a spirit. And long, long story. I think I said this in one of my other videos. Uh, Somebody was possessed, and I basically was looking through another person's eyes that witnessed it. And this this happened like a month prior to when I actually, had the dream. And that's I've only been able to have dreams and relay messages to people that I've never met or have barely met, but the event take place like a month ago, and that they have no knowledge, but maybe one of their family members witnessed actually the event. So that right there was kind of like uh, an undeniable thing for somebody that they're getting into the faith, because sometimes they need some type of reassurance or something. A lot of us, we pray and we want signs or confirmations, and a lot of times we don't get those. So really, a lot of people were just going off of what we feel we believe. But over the course of mm, last couple of years, uh, I found a real big interest into the Jewish traditions and the religion. I wanted to know more about it. I wanted to know the Bible from their perspective. So I did start studying with Orthodox Jews and learning their customs, traditions, their teachings. Haven't really met too many. Uh, it's kind of hard for me to, you know, find somebody of Orthodox Jewish faith and to be able to study with somebody like that. Most of the time, it is either through books, videos, stuff like that. But actually, like in person, I've met very few people. But I had this interest, and I remember me and a couple of friends, we were studying the Bible, and I eventually started attending Shabbat. A handful of times I was able to wear a kippah. I ended up buying me one or two. I did order a kosher prayer shawl talit, and I really liked it. I've prayed with it the way that the Judaism teaches, and I found it very beneficial. I've been using an Orthodox Jewish Bible. I believe it's from ArtScroll, and it is called the Stone Edition, the ArtScroll English Tanakh, the Jewish Bible, with insights from classic rabbinic thought. And this Bible, I love it. I love it. And one thing that, I wanted to get, a Jewish Bible because I wanted to see basically what their view of the Bible was, if the scriptures were any different, because I had heard that their Tanakh is different from what most people would call in the Christian Bible the Old Testament. I wanted to know what exactly those differences were, and I started studying, started looking, and I've seen a couple of videos where they pointed out some scriptures that are different. The book orders of, I guess they call it the canon, those are in a different order in pretty much every Christian Bible that I have seen. They didn't keep it in its original order. I'm not going to say the original order, but from the Jewish Bible, especially the prophets and the writings, the Torah is still in accurate order. But I wanted to know what the differences were. I know there's a couple of verses that are split in the Christian Bible than it is in the Jewish Bible, in the Old Testament. So there was a couple of things. Off the top of my head, I can't remember every one of them, but I did buy some prayer books, some Sidors. I got one for the Sabbath and for the festival days, and there's one for the weekdays. I had got a Haggadah, and I got a couple of other books, but I have, I've had a desire to learn this. I felt, based off a lot of my dreams, that God was calling me to study the Jewish scriptures and to teach Jewish scriptures. I'm a long way from teaching, but I felt that, I got to start somewhere. So while I was in prison, I did do a lot of Bible studies with different faiths, and we were all able to pretty much respectfully put our differences aside. And when it did come to debates, discussions, everybody was pretty respectful. That I studied with. I studied with a few Muslims. I studied with different type of Christians, Orthodox Judaism, and I really did learn a lot. I have a spirit, I have a spiritual gift mostly through dreams, but a lot of people I seen while I was in prison would come up to me and ask me for some advice, or ask me to teach them a little bit what I knew, because they would see me always reading different books, reading the Bible a lot, and I even made a copy myself of the 5 books of the Torah. I handwrit a copy, and I remember the reason why we did it. I can't even think of the verse. I mean the scripture right now, but and I know it didn't apply to us, but I remember it was in the scriptures it was saying that I believe the priests, and for sure I know somebody pointed out that when a new king was to reign, that he had to make a copy of the Torah, and he was to study it, to learn from it, so that he could judge rightly. I mean, so that he could rule righteously. And I was like, man, me and a few people decided to do that, and that right there, I mean, when you're actually writing the scriptures down, making a copy for yourself, um, it sticks in here. A lot of the stories, I can't remember word for word, but a lot of those stories, I only did one college course. It was an associate's for pastoral ministry through a Christian seminary, and I stopped after that. I didn't think that it would benefit anymore, because a lot of those the curriculum, I guess, isn't mainly focused on the scriptures. Like you have to do a lot of studying other books, like Christian theology, church history, and a lot of other books, duties, the rights and duties of the pastor. It was a bunch of stuff. At one point I did feel drawn to become I wanted to become an ordained minister. I did become an ordained minister, but through a ministry that not a lot of people, I guess you would say, acknowledge. But I did get ordained, and it is the state of Texas, recognizes and accepts the ordination through that ministry, and so I do have that. I haven't used it as far as performed any wedding ceremonies, baptisms, funerals, or conducted church services, anything like that. I haven't really done too much counseling. That's something that I've seen, but I guess I don't really have a lot of time, doing public studies. Don't know too many people that actually would be interested in that as well. So usually I just study by myself, and anybody that comes across or asks me questions, I try my best to help them. And well, anyways, I kind of veered off. There was a dream that that my girlfriend had whenever she was still pregnant, and I just wanted to tell y'all that, so you kind of get a little background, that I do currently still pursue Judaism. I don't observe, or I don't keep all the commandments that a Jew is bound to. I haven't done a conversion. I've thought about it, but just right now, you have to live so close to a synagogue, and it has to be what I want to do is Orthodox Judaism. So right now it's kind of not in my reach right now. But I do study. I do study from a Orthodox Judaism viewpoint and teachings. And I have a lot of, in the past couple of years, I have had a lot of dreams about Jews, about studying in a Jewish learning center, Jewish libraries. I've, seen myself in my dreams dressed up and appeared as a Jew. I've defended Jews in my dreams. I've advocated for Israel in my dreams. And God shows me, I don't get these dreams like every day or whatever. These dreams occurred over the course of years. But when you look at all these dreams, they kind of point you in a direction, allow me to see somewhat of a picture. And so I just wanted to share this dream with y'all that she had, my girlfriend. And I remember we were at my house, and it was like early in the morning. I woke up, and I think I want to say I was getting ready to go to work. I remember I turned on the lamp, and I wasn't sitting too far from her, and I was reading out of my art scroll Tanakh. And I don't know exactly what I was reading, but I remember I was like saying it out loud, like a whisper, reading out loud. And I remember at one point she woke up and screamed. So I turned around and asked her what was wrong. And she looked at me and then looked down at the Bible and asked me what I was doing. And I told her I was reading the Bible. She said that she had a bad dream. And I remember she told me that in the dream that something was trying to get her, and I think she said that something was trying to get her and the baby. And in the corner of the room, I have a couple of Jewish books that I keep in a corner, like on a stand. I have a Haggadah, and then my two Sidors. And one of the Sidors that I do have, it's white and blue. So she said she thought about it in her dream. She got up and was trying to reach for it. And then she said she seen a man in a suit. And I believe she said that the man in the suit had told whatever was trying to get her that they couldn't mess with her. They couldn't touch her because she was with the Jewish man. And then she said that she started hearing my voice. And then that's when she woke up. So when she told me that, and then she got to the part where the man had said, called me the Jewish man, I thought that was pretty cool, since I'm over here, I do desire to perhaps one day convert to Judaism. I have thought about it, and I was thinking, I was like, it kind of felt cool to even though it was quote unquote an evil spirit, I thought it was cool that, quote unquote an evil spirit identified me as the Jewish man. And she has a lot of, premonitions as well. And from time to time, like when she does have one and she can remember it, she'll tell me and ask me what I think about it. And I've had a number of people as well who would have spiritual dreams, and they would ask me what I thought that the interpretation was. But I just wanted to share that. I thought it was pretty cool, in a weird way. But I know I did say that I was gonna start letting people know about the Torah portions for the week, and I haven't done that in a while. So I did write it down. This week's Torah portion is called, and I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing this probably wrong, but it's Parasha Va'era, and it is Exodus chapter 6 verse 2 through chapter 9 verse 35. And the Haftarah is going to be Ezekiel chapter 28 verse 25 through chapter 27 verse 21. And Va'era means in Hebrew, and I appeared, is what I've gotten from this Jewish Bible. And so pretty much it was a tradition that each week before Shabbat, the Sabbath, you would read a portion of the Torah, which would be accompanied by the Haftarah, which majority of the time was a portion out of the prophets or the writings. I also wanted to point out something that I read the other day, and it's going to be out of Proverbs chapter 3. And I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but I did want to point out a few things. So it starts off saying, "My child, do not forsake my Torah, and let your heart guard my commandments, for they add to you length of days and years of life and peace. Kindness and truth will not forsake you. Bind them upon your neck, inscribe them on the tablet of your heart, and you will find favor and goodly wisdom in the eyes of God and man." Now, if you go up to let me see what verse this was. Okay, so it's chapter 3, verse 16, and it says, well, I'll start at 15. So chapter 3, verse 15, and it says, "It is more precious than pearls, and all your desires cannot compare to it. Length of days is at its right, at its left wealth and honor. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its pathways are peace. It is a tree of life to those who grasp it, and its supporters are praiseworthy." So that stuck out to me was verse 16. It is a tree of life. And you see many times where it says that the Torah is a lamp, that it is the light that will guide your path. And here it states that it is a tree of life. It doesn't say it's the tree of life, but it says a tree of life. So I thought that was something that was important, because all throughout the Old Testament, the Torah is preached. It's always, once the children of Israel would backslide, it was always majority of the time because they were not keeping the Torah. And so I thought that was, one of the reasons why I felt that God was calling me to study the Tanakh and to try and preach the Torah. You know, if you don't know Hebrew, all you're gonna do is you're just getting surface value. Like there's so much to unearth if you actually know biblical Hebrew. Another thing that I wanted to point out was I was thinking, you know, when Jews study, like they spend, some of them, you know, especially rabbis, spend their whole lifetime studying the Torah, studying the Tanakh, studying the oral laws and other commentaries. And there's so many books out there, so many books. And I was just like, you know, do I want to do that? Do I feel like I'm called to do that? And I was just like, there's so many books out there, all of these additional books, you know, and then you don't know if these books are false documents. You gotta do the research on the origins of these books, commentaries on these books. When did these books, where were they found? You gotta do a lot of investigation on these books, because a lot of books are false documents. A lot of them were written by certain groups. You know, I mean, you know, when I was locked up, I read a lot of additional books. You know, I had the book of Jasher, I had the book of Enoch, I had the book of Jubilees, I had the Maccabees books, I had the book of Wisdom of Solomon. And then I started studying different religious beliefs. I started studying Gnosticism, and even read a little bit of Kabbalah, the Jewish mysticism. And I was just like, there's so many books out there, but it's like, how do you know what to read? So, you know, I kind of was reading the Bible a couple years ago, and it's like, what's the whole point of reading all these books? Like, yeah, you do become wise, you do obtain a lot of knowledge, maybe even some understanding, but is it beneficial? Like, what's the use of it? So I was reading out of Ecclesiastes, and let me see what chapter this is. It is chapter 12, and it is verse 12, and it says, well, I'll start at verse 9, and it says, and besides being wise, Koheles also imparted knowledge to the people. He listened and sought out and arranged many proverbs. Koheles sought to find words of delight and words of truth recorded properly. The words of the wise are like goads, and the nails well driven are the sayings of the masters of collections coming from one shepherd. Beyond these, my son, beware. The making of many books is without limit, and much study is weariness of the flesh. The sum of the matter, when all has been considered, Fear God and keep his commandments, for that is man's whole duty. For God will judge every deed, even everything hidden, whether good or evil. And so I was like, I mean, it's pretty much there. He just said it. He was considered to be the wisest man who ever lived. And I'm not sure where exactly, which chapter and verse, but I know it says that before him no one was as wise as him, and no one after him will be as wise as him. And then, there's references where he says that there's nothing new under the sun. So I got to the point to where it's like there's so much information out there, but what is beneficial to you? You do have a lot of these additional books, a lot of these so-called lost books of the Bible, and you can read them. Some of them seem to be true. Some you can tell pretty quickly that they're false documents. And it's like, if the wisest man, quote, according to the scriptures, the wisest man says the whole duty of man is to fear God and to keep his commandments, I would follow that. Because a lot of times in the Bible, when people first get that awakening, a lot of times it was, and the fear of the Lord fell upon them. And it describes it a few times that these people were just so terrified. And some to more extreme degrees, some to lesser degrees, But my whole thing is based off of my dreams. God has shown me the book for me to study. It's the Jewish Bible, the Tanakh. I feel that I've been called to be a Torah teacher, maybe even a spiritual advisor. I know that when I was doing my studies, I used to study different religions and practices of the ancient civilizations, and one thing that I seen that was pretty similar across all the ancient religions was that they believed that the firstborn son most of the case had spiritual abilities, spiritual gifts. A lot of times they were placed in a temple and were groomed to be priests. I've read that even some civilizations, they put the women in the temple as well to be priestess. So just depending on which civilization you're looking at. I feel what I've read, I used to be a quote unquote, you could label it pagan, idol worshiper, and I still had dreams. So what I believe is that God has granted people the gift spiritual gifts, whatever they may be, and it's up to us how we choose to use them. I felt a calling to God, but I just couldn't find the right teachings. And what I was following and what I was learning at the time, I didn't feel was right. So I stopped being an idol worshiper. I was pretty much paganism. And I would have a lot of dreams pertaining to that entity. And I repented, I stopped, I gave my life over to God, and I embraced Christianity. That's what I knew at that point. From that point, would have dreams as well. Still continued having spiritual dreams, but in a more Christian aspect. But something was missing. Once I went back to the Old Testament and started studying more, I came across a couple of things that I felt were contradictions with the New Testament. So from there, I got into deeper studies, read different commentaries, different versions of the Bible, and what I eventually came across was that the Hebrew, the actual Torah, the 5 books of Moses, written in the Hebrew, every manuscript and every scroll in use today uses the exact letters. Now, the Hebrew, biblical Hebrew, does not have vowels on the scrolls. So it's like every copy that you find of the Hebrew, Torah scrolls, they're going to be the same any part of the world. It doesn't change. The only time that it does change is whenever it's translated into another language. Then the words can differ from point to point. And I had even did my research of what was referred to as the Torah codes or the Bible codes. And when I was doing that investigation about it, what I came across was that there was an experiment with pretty much like a computer program that the algorithm was supposed to detect codes. So in Hebrew, every Hebrew letter correlates to a number. So whenever they decoded the Hebrew scrolls, the 5 books of Moses, the Torah, from the Hebrew to its correlated numbers, then it's just number sequences. So they put that into the algorithm and everything, the program, and a lot of codes started popping up. And off the top of my head, I don't know everything into it. There's videos you can look up, the Torah Bible codes or Torah codes, and just some of the ones that off the top of my head, it's like every 50th letter from the beginning, it's spelled Torah backwards. Well, I think every 50th letter is spelled Torah backwards. And then I think it was at the end of the last book of the Torah, 50 letters. That way, it's still spelled Torah, and that they were both pointing to the book of Leviticus. And there was like, I think it even said that some of the most uh, well-known prophets, like they placed the prophets' names into the algorithm, and it says that the Bible codes predicted, well, it has inside encrypted in the Torah the names of the prophets, the places of the prophets, the time, their date of birth. I think it says their date of death as well. And I was just like, that's great. Like, that's amazing. And the more that I looked into these Bible codes, it's like there's no denying, like, this is from God. The Torah came from God. You know how advanced a human had to be to come up with something so sophisticated as that. Like, it's just unthinkable. It's it's hard to imagine, because a lot of people say, oh, well, they got these other religions that that are older than the Torah, that have parallel stories of the Torah and the creation myth. And it's like, I mean, the Bible codes pretty much like reaffirms that the Torah came from something that's way above our understandings. The Torah says that it was given by God, that this is God's Torah, his laws, his commandments. And I believe that. There's a lot of things I've looked into, and I've already came to the conclusion that this is true, that this is the word of God. And I believe that the whole world should know God's Torah. We weren't bound by it, because it says that what a lot of people call the 7 Noahide laws, that was given to the whole race of the world, all mankind. And if you look up in some Jewish literature, the Torah was given to Moses and the children of Israel, and it was only for them. It wasn't given to all of mankind, even though today a lot of people assume that it was only given to the children of Israel. And pretty much the covenant that God made with the children of Israel, with the Hebrews, that was pretty much their constitution right there. But God called out all of the firstborn. Well, when he called out the Hebrews out of Egypt, he said that he called them out to be a nation of priests. The children of Israel in the Bible are referred to as God's firstborn son. But they would not follow his commandments, his ways. So then the Levitical priesthood was established. And it says that that replaced all the firstborns, so they would redeem all the firstborn sons. There would be a law for that practice. And you see that the firstborn son having spiritual gifts and being into the priesthood in a number of ancient civilizations. And what I was reading was that the firstborn child, but primarily the custom was the firstborn son, was to be the spiritual leader of that family. The next son, not always the case, but the oldest was always the spiritual leader. Then there would be one who would be more of a leader, physical leader in the everyday matters of the family or the tribe. And I kind of started seeing that while I was locked up. I started seeing a lot of people would look up to me for spiritual advice, spiritual counseling. And so I kind of seen a little bit of that. Even to this day, people do feel comfortable coming up to me and asking me questions or for advice. Most of the time it's spiritual matters, but there have been a few times where it's other matters. And so those are just a couple of things, that I studied and learned. But I do know that anybody can benefit from this, because God spoke even before he made a covenant, before he gave his Torah to Moses, to the children of Israel. He spoke with numerous people within the Bible. And once my spiritual journey started taking a real intensity is when I got down on my knees and prostrated myself and proclaimed to be a servant to the God of Israel, to the Most High El. I made a vow, and the things that I've asked for, he's granted. And one of the things that I vowed God that I would do if he gave me those things would be I'll do whatever he called me to do. And based off of my dreams that I've had over the years, I feel that God has called me to be a spiritual leader, spiritual teacher. I have a lot of dreams about like being a priest of some nature. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. There's probably a lot of people out there like that. But if I can help out anybody, or if I can give any type of advice based off of my own experience, I'm always here to help out. But it's getting late. I just wanted to make this video and hopefully start making more videos, hopefully a little bit shorter. I know I'm probably getting a little bored probably bored listening to me and everything. But yeah, man, I'm here to help whoever's out there. I'll try my best. I'm no scholar or nothing. Read a number of books. I have a lot of experience with premonitions, spiritual prayer. Had a lot of encounters with evil entities, spirits. God shows me how to pray to cast out evil spirits, especially like lurking around people. Never anybody possessed, but if there was like an evil presence in the house, God has shown me how to do that, or which manner to go about that. But hope y'all like this video, and hope I'm able to make more soon. I pray all of y'all, pray everybody may find peace, love, and happiness, and that the Most High would just bless each of y'all and y'all's household. Hallelujah.